Welcome back to Figure Depot. Today we're taking a look at WARPATH from the Strong Guy Build-A-Figure wave of Deadpool figures. This is an awesome figure. It's one that a lot of people have been anticipating. I know it's my #1 anticipated figure of 2020, and I'm so stoked to actually have it right here in front of me. Thanks to my friend Bilal for hooking me up. Glad Scientist 86 over on Instagram. Y'all check him out. He's a cool guy. And anyway, he's a fellow collector, and he actually is sponsoring this review by providing the figure here, and it's a gift from him, so appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. You're the best. Awesome figure. I have some Native American in my blood, but you wouldn't know it by looking at me. The Scots-Irish in me definitely is dominant over the Native American, but I do have some Choctaw as well. And I've always been fascinated by Native American culture, so anytime I see Native American influence in comics or movies or, you know, any medium, I very much enjoy it, and this is no exception. Had the original figure long ago. This is my 1990s WARPATH from the X-Men figure line from Toy Biz. This is the 5-inch scale, and I always loved this figure. And you can see they're from a very similar design. There's some small differences, and I'm actually going to customize one of these WARPATH figures to more look like this particular figure, and then I'll leave one actually as he comes, and as you can see him here. So he does also come with some open hands. Of course, you saw him initially with the fisted hands, and I've swapped him out for his open gripping hands, weapon holding hands, which he comes with, although he does not come with any weapons or other accessories except for, of course, the Strong Guy right leg for the Build-A-Figure. So I took a Marvel's Nuke knife that had a green handle and a silver blade, and I painted it, painted the handle black and the blade silver, and then I found an old cheap beat up other knife that is actually in the same color scheme that these are supposed to be. I'm not sure what figure it was from, probably a previous release of WARPATH or one of the 2-pack soldiers that came out a couple years ago or last year, and it was all beat up, so I basically repainted it and kind of refreshed it. So now he's got his knives. Now, back whenever this particular version of the character was released in comics and in toy form, he did not have knives during that period, and so I guess that's why Hasbro did not include them, but they're definitely a must-have for him. So I scrounged those up, got them ready so that when he arrived, he would be ready with them. These knives are made of vibranium, and they were a gift from Storm, and so he had to have them, and they look really cool. One opportunity that they really missed here was not having some thunderclap hands. We know that he is incredibly strong, incredibly fast. He can run at 100 miles an hour, and he can clap his hands with enough force to actually knock over a sentinel. So he also has the power of flight, which he discovered much later. And so he's basically like Native American Superman. So very, very cool. And yeah, so they should have given us those thunder clapping hands. That would have been awesome. Namor does have some hands that are in that position, but I'm afraid they're going to be very undersized and would look silly if you tried to use them to replicate that look. But yeah, it would have been awesome. What I am going to do, like I said, is keep a version just like this, and then take some material and make my own fringe and have it drape across his chest and around his back just like it appeared on the Toy Biz figure. So can't wait to do that. But yeah, looks awesome. Let's check out the articulation on this bad boy. Now this is of course the Omega Red body mold, and this is only the second time that it has ever been used, and I hope we get a Venom on this buck. I think it would look awesome. There's some other figures that would look really good. The Hyperion mold is probably the next biggest under this, and maybe the Hercules, which looks really good, but this guy is much bigger than that Hercules figure that we got last year. So anyway, head's on a ball peg, and he will look up pretty far given the hair impedes some of that movement. So not bad at all having that long of a hair. He will, of course, look down very far. No problem at all there. We do get, I'm gonna pop these shoulder pads off. We do get arms going up really high to the side. We do have a bicep swivel. We've got this beautiful butterfly joint, which gives us a very wide range of movement. So that's very cool. Get our swivel there at the deltoids, the bicep. Of course, we get 360 rotation. We do get double jointed elbows, but his arms are so beefy. He does get a little better than 45 degrees, but not just like a ton, but it's still not too bad at all for such a large figure. And of course, our wrists swivel and hinge around, no problem, rotate 360. We're all familiar with that particular portion of the articulation. It's got the same forward crunch that we've seen on most of the Marvel Legends figures. Back crunch as well. We do get a swivel at the waist with a floating belt, so you can move it in and out of your way there, no problem. And then we will kick forward to there. Let's get that out of the way. We'll kick forward to there. We'll kick back, not much at all. We do get a swivel at the upper thigh. Double jointed knees, which get about the same range as the arm joints do, again, because he's so muscular. We do get a nice cut here, and this is new tooling here with the fringe, and it looks very, very good. It is a bit glossy. I'm probably going to hit it with a flat finish to kind of tone some of that gloss down, but looks still, the design is very, very cool. We'll get a closer look at that in a minute. Toes will point forward really far. They'll point up really far. And we do get a very nice pivot. And his feet are nice and big. One problem that we've had on some larger figures in Marvel Legends is that while they're big and bulky, their feet are kind of small and they're a little difficult to stand. So it's nice to get a nice wide foot on such a large figure. And some people complain that it's a little oversized, but I don't think so. I think it's just right for his size, and certainly you need it to pose a figure with this much weight to him. So now when you pop off the hands, these are removable. So if you kind of want to get him without those, or if you want to do the red wrist wraps like he appears with in the comics, you can definitely take those off and then do like a gold strap up here, which is the look that you have with the old Toy Biz. So that's an easy thing you can do there for that customization. And as we all know, WARPATH is James Proudstar, brother of John Proudstar, who was Thunderbird, and WARPATH kind of takes up his mantle and gets his costume. And basically he was killed under Professor X when he was working with him, and WARPATH was very angry at Professor X, blamed Professor X for his brother's death, but eventually was reconciled and ended up joining the X-Men at one point. So, and then he of course was on X-Force with Wolverine, Strike Team, and so buried the hatchet, so to speak. But yeah, really cool figure, really cool history. I encourage you to check him out in the comics and look at his story, because it's really cool, and just a really awesome character. So I guess we'll look at these shoulder pads real quick. They're very interesting. They got some cool ribbing on the inside. They are massive, and but the fringe on the side here is nice and pliable, which doesn't impede the articulation much. In terms of him bringing his arms out to the side, of course, when he brings them forward, they're pretty cumbersome and get in the way. But yeah, and of course they've just got a peg here, and then they peg into the holes on his shoulder. So I'll be trying to cover those up when I apply the fringe to him later. Now, getting a nice close look at the figure, we see this awesome white paint for his eyes. It almost has a silverish hint to it. He does have this cool war eagle on his costume, and it looks really neat. We get these gold bands here on his wrists, which look really cool. And the detail on the hands is real nice. You got some sculpted veins and everything. No paint really, other than just the red and blue stripes here on the costume. All clean lines, all look really nice. Got some cool wrinkles on his boots there. The fringe around his calves looks really cool and matches the fringe up here on this. One thing I noticed, he does not have fringe on the side of his pants like the classic figure does, and like he appears in the comics. So I may actually put some fringe down the side as well when I do the custom fringe here once I get the second figure. So but yeah, that belt's really cool. It's got some really nice pouch work and stuff, and a nice leather grain texture to it. Very cool design. It's got some wrinkles on his breeches. The pads have a nice texture to them. They are very glossy though. I noticed one thing about this figure is it's very, very shiny. But you can see the knives look really great, not just because of my paint job, just because of the design. They work really well with the figure. And definitely you're going to want to pick some up. They're just a must-have for this guy. The hair looks really nice. It's got just a hint of a wash on it, I believe. Unless it's just the gloss coming through. It's kind of hard to tell. He does have the cool feathers on the side there, which look really nice. They got a nice sculpt to them. No paint applications whatsoever, but the sculpt on them is very nice. That face sculpt is just fantastic. I'm loving it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this guy. We'll get into some size comparisons now and see how he stacks up against other figures. Alright, here he is next to some other Native American characters. So within the X-Men, we have Danny Moonstar, of course. And then we have Forge. So you can see some similarities in design with the fringe around the boots there. And we also see the use of headbands, red headbands on each of the three. And black hair consistent across the board as well. But I think these two look really cool together. They all look, you know, really good together, actually. That blue and red and gold is present in both of these two, and then the red and gold is consistent between these two. So anyway, very cool in terms of design. Just for fun, here he is next to the NECA Lone Ranger 7-inch scale Tonto figure, and another Native American figure. We've got the feathers and the hair and everything. So consistent in terms of, you know, cultural stylings and things. Again, I'm always fascinated with Native American culture and history. So being that I also have some in my family history. My grandmother did a genealogy. She actually wrote an entire book tracing our family back several generations. So it was fascinating to read some of that. But anyway, here he is next to the 7-inch San Diego Comic-Con exclusive NECA Superman. And you can see they look pretty cool next to each other. He is still much larger. He's a big old boy. We've also got kind of the next biggest body from Marvel Legends currently, which is the Hyperion body mold, which a lot of people don't like. It's okay. I mean, I don't just hate it. I thought the big traps were pretty cool. The chest is pretty large. The thighs are not too bad, and the lower legs are a little funky, and I'm not digging these crazy boots. But I do think the forearms were a bit undersized. But anyway, you can see he's much larger than that guy. So, very good size figure. Here he is with a couple more figures that use the Hyperion body mold. We've got Bishop, and then we've got Sabretooth. So, he definitely puts them to shame in terms of size. Now here he is next to X-Force Wolverine and Deadpool, and you can see he makes both of them look small. Wade Wilson's a little tall, but still nowhere near as tall as Warpath. And Wolverine is, of course, probably the shortest Marvel Legends figure that we have, with the exception of maybe Puck, but yeah. They will eventually, I'm sure, give us Warpath in the X-Force costume, and that will be a good day. Hopefully they utilize the same buck, because it's fantastic. Now, starting to move into some larger figures, we have Beast here, who is still just a little bit smaller, or shorter in height, I should say, but definitely not smaller in girth. Beast is definitely a much more muscular build. He's got a wider chest cavity, wider waist, bigger thighs and calves, and bigger shoulders. So he's definitely more muscular and bigger in size, although just a little bit shorter than Warpath. And then of course we have Colossus, who is just a bit taller and just a little bit bigger. So finally getting into some figures that outpace him just a little bit. And finally, leaving him completely in the dust, we have the Sasquatch Build-A-Figure, and we have the Juggernaut Build-A-Figure, which are much, much larger. If you've read the comics, you know that Warpath faces off against Juggernaut, and they do battle together, so it'll be cool to get some shots with these guys facing off against each other. Very, very cool. But yeah, really good figure. Real nice and big and weighty. Feels good in hand. And not as big as your Build-A-Figures, but definitely one of the larger figures that we've gotten. And really quick, here he is next to Cannonball from X-Force and Vindicator from Alpha Flight. So you can see the Bucky cap is about the same size as this, but this was kind of an updated buck that they went to. A little better articulation, a little better proportions than that old Bucky cap buck. And for one last size comparison, here we have him next to both versions of She-Hulk that are the largest we've gotten. We've got the Jennifer Walters in the, guess more of the sensational She-Hulk style, right here from Toy Biz. And then we've got the Marvel Legends from Hasbro release that we just got last year with the gray She-Hulk. And they're exactly the same height, all three of these. So you can see how they compare with one another. Alright, so if we want to know his exact height, he stands at, looks like 7 1/4 inches tall. So, really nice big figure. I think he's supposed to weigh 300 pounds, and I want to say he's supposed to be like 7'2", if that's right. I think that's right. Can't remember his stats exactly, but something like that, something close to that. So, really nice big figure. Well, that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope y'all enjoyed this review. I'm loving this figure. Very, very cool. So stoked to have it. Yeah, it's just fantastic. This one's going to be sitting on my nightstand for a while. I generally put a few action figures on my nightstand and as little decorations for my room, and I'll trade them out every blue moon, but I think this guy's going to hold that spot for quite some time. I will post a video later of my custom work once I get the alternate fringe on him, and I'll do a little tutorial video on how I did it in case any of you guys are interested in doing the same modification. That will eliminate the shoulder bell issue and how it impedes the articulation. So look for that in the coming days and weeks and months ahead. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Be sure and check out my Instagram for action figure photography, and I'll see you later.